Let's welcome Ryan Kolosiki to the show. Ryan, how are you?
Good. How about yourself today?
Good to see you. Yeah, that's an interesting name, Kolosiki. Is that Polish?
It is actually Polish. That's correct.
How about that, huh? How about me pulling that one? Well, thanks for coming in. Bye. I guess I go to the bonus round. Yeah, welcome from all of us here at the Big 550. Thank you for being here from SumnerOne. And we're going to talk about ransomware attacks. It's an interesting thing because I saw it, maybe one of the greatest scenes I've ever seen about ransomware on Homeland. I don't know if it's a show you watch.
It is not.
But the principal in Homeland figured out who was, how cyberly she did this. I don't know if cyberly is a word.
Don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think it is either. But as long as you understood what it was, it's a word.
Right.
But she figured out who it was that was holding her ransom, and she went to visit this guy, and, she tried to get all sexed up, and he got all excited. He said he would give her files back, and then she just punched the crap out of him. And it was, it was, I'm telling you, it was one of the greatest scenes you've ever seen, because that's what people feel like they want to do. They are powerless because sometimes these ransomware things, they're halfway around the world.
They are. They're all over the place. A lot of them are coming from other countries all over the world, and you get them all sorts of different ways.
Yeah. Well, so give us an example. How does ransomware make its way in through all the firewalls and everything that we've got in place?
Yeah, so there's two common ways to get it. The first being through email, right? You can get a spoofed email or some email that looks legitimate, and there's a link or a file attached to it, and somebody unsuspectingly clicks on it. And
they're getting pretty good at creating those. Yeah,
it used to be a lot of the stuff that was inside of the emails, misspellings and misgrammar and stuff like that, and they were very easy to flag.
Yeah.
Nowadays, they're not. The hackers and the people out in the world are getting far more sophisticated. All they want to do is make your system all cattywampus, and it's really easy for them to do some days.
It is. Yeah, that's crazy. So, here's the problem with ransomware, because they want a ransom. They want something from you, and it's generally money, if I'm not mistaken.
Usually.
And maybe in the form of Bitcoin or something that's not traceable.
Right.
Yeah. So when they've got your computer held ransom, and you've got two issues. You can pay the ransom, but there's no guarantee that they're going to release the your files.
There isn't. Yeah.
And you can hope against all hope, or not pay them and hope that you reestablish everything with backup. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. So a lot of times, if you do pay, which is not recommended, they will give up your files usually. But the other thing is making sure you do have an accurate backup in place, something that's been tested and something that's there and that has your files in it, hopefully.
So who do these guys look for? These anonymous cyber criminals. How do they find different companies? Because they don't generally do that to individuals. You want pictures of my kids? You can have them.
Exactly. Yeah, so a lot of it's just spam, right? They're just out there looking for anybody and everybody. So they'll send something to everybody and anybody on the world to try to get something. In the past, it used to be large companies and large corporations that they went after because the stuff that they had was valuable. That was what hackers wanted. With ransomware, they've come to realize that the information that you have is much more valuable to you as a small business owner, and they know or think that you will pay to get that information back because it's much more valuable to you than it is to them.
Yeah, and generally, what are they asking for? What's the hit on these things, and how frequently do people pay out?
It depends. There's lots of statistics out there that usually 20-ish% of people pay and the others don't. And it can be anywhere from $500 to $500,000. It's all over the board.
And is there any statistic from the FBI or whomever handles the cyber criminal cases at what this costs the economy every year?
No numbers that I have.
Yeah, okay, but I'm sure it's somewhere in the hundreds of millions, if not higher.
And Guy, I don't know if you remember, but last year in January, St. Louis Public Library was hit with this.
I don't recall that.
Yeah.
They were hit with it, and I believe they were down for about 3 weeks before they were able to get back up and running. I know they did not pay the ransom, but beyond that, I don't know exactly what they did to mitigate it.
Well, the good news about that is that I didn't return my book, A Bell for a Dono, and so I didn't I didn't know him that 95 cents.
Boy, you sure got away with highway robbery.
I did, but I want to let everyone know I did return A Bell for a Dono. It's available at the St. Louis Public Library, so you can go for it. So how do you guys at SumnerOne, somebody calls you and says, hey, we want to make sure this does not affect our business. What do you put in place? What are the things you guys do for them?
Yep. So the sad thing is there's no way to be 100% protected by these things. So a lot of it comes down to training. And that's what we do. Education of the end user. That's the biggest thing. We offer many training programs for companies out there. We send out phishing attacks to email addresses that kind of spoof and make it look like, and then we do reports based off of that. How many people inside of your organization or company actually clicked on that? Right. Who were these individuals? Let's give them some extra training. And then
that Gladys at the front desk, she doesn't know much.
Yeah, exactly.
She's shopping online, and I think I'll click on it, and all of a sudden, cyber warfare, it's underway. And is there anything anybody can do once this has infiltrated the system? Is there any possible way to track this at all? And who do you go to?
So, the recommendation is to call your local authorities. And if it comes from outside of the country, like you mentioned, the FBI usually gets involved. And what they do with it, because they have thousands upon thousands of these that come through all the time, there isn't a whole lot that they can do. And that's the sad part of it. So the biggest thing to make sure that you can get your stuff back that is locked up underneath ransomware is to make sure you have a proper backup in place. That's the biggest mitigation.
So you guys at SumnerOne, do you do seminars at companies that would address this situation? Because this has got to be probably the most devastating thing. Now, most big companies have, multiple backups and systems in place where...
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they can shut down, or partition or whatever they do. But for the smaller company, it's just more about the education of the individual.
So I was actually just out at one of our customers about 2 weeks ago doing some education for them. They had a couple fishy emails come through, and luckily they didn't click on a lot of the stuff, but they almost did, and they asked us to come in and do a little bit of training for their end users, and that's stuff that we do for our customers all the time. Just
out of curiosity, and we're talking to SumnerOne's Ryan Kolasicki. Have you ever talk to one of these guys that has done this kind of thing?
I have not.
You haven't?
No. I wish.
Well, you're talking to one now.
Oh, you have?
Whoa.
No, I'm kidding. No. Well, we greatly appreciate you being in. How about a phone number if people would like to have SumnerOne at their business to educate their employees about the perils of clicking online when you shouldn't?
Yeah, so 314-633-8000.
633-8000. Fantastic. Thanks for being in today. Was this okay? Were you good with this? Because I know this is the first time I've seen you in here. And
I'll be here next week.
Will you?
Yeah.
Okay. Look, it's a two-timer.
Oh, my goodness.
All right. All right. We'll see you next week then. Thanks so much for being here, Ryan.
Thank you.
Kolasicki.